We all got together last Saturday night, and I remember making a count, looking up a calendar for 2022, and I counted the weeks to opening day, week 0, college football. Of course, this is Saturday, so we've got a number of weeks right on the day to Saturday, August 27th, and week 0 of college football. So whatever that count was, 13 weeks, 12 weeks, something in that range. One less. We'll get there. One less to college football. Welcome in, everyone, to the Voice of College Football. My name is Mark, and I appreciate all of you, all 30 who are here, and the many thousands who will simply join soon. All right. Appreciate everybody being here, and I hope your weekend's going well. Beautiful day here, and I've enjoyed the day. Now it's time to kick in some work. Get some work done, Mark. Let's do it. Okay. Amazon link is in the description section of all the videos, so please use the Amazon link when you go to Amazon and shop. We know that you do, so please do that and grab the link that we provide. It's the same shopping experience, and you know the deal. It does not cost you a penny. Think of it this way. You spend $100 at Amazon, and make this clear, you don't have to spend $100 at Amazon. But let's say, for example, you do. We here at the Voice of College Football may get $1, we may get $2, we may get $5, depending on the product. But you don't send $100 all to Amazon because you know what they've got? 1.6 trillion. So please use our Amazon link in the description section of all the videos when you shop on Amazon. Also, if you would like to write for us, please join us at voiceofcollegefootball.com. If you would like to write for us, and you can check out the articles that have been posted already this past football season. And if you would like to write for us, you see at the top of the screen on our website, voiceofcollegefootball.com. Write for us. We make it simple. You just go to Write for Us, and you'll be in contact with me, and we'll take it from there. So if you would like to write for us, please consider that. We've got a special edition Oklahoma live stream coming up Sunday at 2 Eastern. So please join us for that. Oklahoma Live, typically on Wednesday. We are going to join you again next week, but we've got 2 editions of Oklahoma Live coming up this week, and one's on Sunday at 2 Eastern, one where it counts, 1 p.m. Central Time, where it counts there in Oklahoma. Also, I'll be appearing with Steve Dace, as we typically do, this Tuesday on the Michigan podcast, so please check that out. I don't know exactly when those are posted. I believe later in the day on Tuesday, possibly Wednesday morning. So check it out, Michigan podcast. I'll be there with Steve Dace discussing college football, of course. I think that's what we're going to discuss, college football, I believe. I may have to double check on that. All right. And of course, our Discord, man, I don't know who's on here right now. I haven't checked. And of course, I'm not going to be allowed to go back to the top of the screen and go to the very first comment, because many of you had let me know, no, Mark, you do not go to the start of the chat and start responding. So I've got to skip all those and just move ahead to where we are in the chat. So I don't know who all is here, but I will say that we've got Ronan, we've got Tim, we've got Eric, we've got Exploring with Ben, we've got I believe Jordan Bowman there on our chat. A lot of good people on our chat. We've got about 50 or 55 available that can join in our Discord currently and talk college football. So just consider what you do here when we start up the live streams. You could do that all the time. Once we get that Discord cranking to the level that we do during these live streams, guess what? That thing's going to be going 24/7, 365 all the time. So go to patreon.com, search MarkRogersTV, and sign up right there. And that's just for Discord. In addition to that, you will be a member of the Voice of College Football community. You get my predictions. I know that doesn't help you out too much over the next 3 months, but you do get my predictions. You get the predictions of about 15 to 20 other media members. You get schedule previews per request. You get live streams, exclusive live streams. Not that I don't provide enough here, but exclusive live streams there on Patreon per request. And then finally, yes, Mark, I will get to the college football talk. We'll get right to it. Contact me at MarkRogersTV. Let me know who you root for. So we have about 60 or 70,000 different people that watch us each month. And this is during the slow time. So this is at the off season slow time. And we've got about 60 or 70,000 people different people that watch the videos. So of course, YouTube lets us know how many people are watching all the videos, but then it narrows it down to how many unique individual users. So 60 or 70,000. So I'd like to have 60 or 70,000 responses. Right now, I've got about 150. So please hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Let me know who you root for. Then I can better tailor the content to the fan bases that I want to hit everybody. Believe me. Well, no, I just want to hit certain people at certain times. Wink, wink. But yes, we want to cover all of college football, but we have to make our selections based on what do you guys want. Speaking of which, as the phone lines will be open and typically and currently are at 860-499-3332, 860-499-3332. So I've taken a different tactic on social media just in the last couple weeks. And I'm going to make this my standard line. When I run into somebody on social media and they clearly don't know what they're talking about. And I don't mind when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. Because, hey, it's just college football. It's not rocket science. It's not critical to our existence here. It's not a big deal. If you're just a fan and you don't know that much, hey, you won't get any criticism from me. But when you say you know everything, you're a know-it-all, and you don't know what you're talking about, well, I'm going to come down on you pretty hard. So I typically do that on, it was on Facebook today, also on Twitter, of course. But my response from now on is going to be what it's been in the last week. And that's going to be basically, you know what? Call me. Next call-in show, call me. And I give them the phone number. And I've done that with about 5 people now where I've given them the phone number for the call-in show. And I've said, you know what? You know so much. Call me and we'll discuss it. And guess what? Nobody's called me. They don't even respond after that. They are so into debating back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and arguing. And as soon as I bring up, call me, we can discuss it during my show. Here's the number. Here it is. I don't even hear a response. Nothing. Crickets. So again, it's 860-499-3332. What else? I want to dive a little bit deeper into the topics we presented last night, because once I start to get calls, those topics, depending on your interest, typically fall apart. I will mention, though, that where did we put the new helmet? Here we go. Oregon State. Whomever sent this to me, I'm going to guess. I probably shouldn't guess. Connor Johnson. He's our Oregon State fan that actually talks. There might be others out there. I think we got more responses in terms of our Who's Your Team request from Oregon State fans. But whomever sent this to me, you can raise your hand. Thank you so much for that. I picked it up today. And if you'd like to send me a helmet or anything else, checks are accepted. 15 South Main Street, Box 1007, beautiful Torrington, Connecticut is 06790. So that is the latest addition to the helmet collection. Again, who's your team? Let me know at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. I want to keep an accurate count. All right, let's get back to the two topics from last night. Keep in mind our number is 860-499-3332. D-Rock Irish is here. But let's see here. You know, this is kind of strange exploring with Ben. Maybe I expected to pick up many helmets here because I got an email from the Staples where I pick up the helmets, and I thought that there were going to be a number of helmets, but there weren't. Jason, you are so right. You are so right. And again, we're not going to put down or criticize or, make anybody feel small for not knowing what they're talking about. Just come here and learn and take part in the discussion. That's fine. But when you think you know it all, that's the problem. All right. We presented a topic last night, next 10 national champions. Next 10 national champions. So my count, and I am no visionary in this, and I pointed out that the coaching transitions, the ones that we've seen, and then the ones we're not going to know about until, of course, they happen. Just think about everything that's changed in college football from this time last year, last June to this June. At this time last year, for example, we had a conversation with David Waters, Gators Breakdown. Please check it out. That's on the Florida channel and on the SEC channel. Oh, man. As soon as I determine we're going to keep this channel, this main channel, clear of all team reports, recruiting reports tied to specific teams and make it a national channel, makes me think, hey, maybe we should go back with some of our better guests, our more popular guys, and put them on here. Because, man, David Waters delivers it and it goes on the SEC channel and the Florida channel and doesn't necessarily get the type of traffic that it should and has when we put it on the main channel. But we're working through that. So anyway, David Waters, Gators Breakdown. Check out the conversations with him on the Florida channel and on the SEC channel. So take Florida, for example. Consider this. At this point last year, who won the Georgia-Florida game? 1 year ago now, we're sitting here thinking, okay, Florida beat Georgia. Think of that now. Florida beat Georgia. They played Alabama tougher than anyone. They went to the SEC championship game. They really missed out on a possibility of playing for a college football playoff just by knucklehead Marco Wilson throwing a shoe. And they were that close. And now, 1 year later, Dan Mullen is out. That's how quickly things can change. This time, of course, last year, Lincoln Riley's at Oklahoma, and they're gearing up for a huge season and a shot at a national championship. Clay Helton's at USC. They're on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat. USC doesn't look so great, but didn't look like they were going to go 4-8. And Brian Kelly's at Notre Dame, and everything that was in play this time last year. And Oklahoma and Texas for the foreseeable future were going to be members of the Big 12. So this is how much can change in 1 year. So we are asking for national champions to be named for the next 10 years. So let's keep in mind that coaching transitions, which are inevitable, and just think about what it's going to look like this time next year, is the biggest factor. Coaching changes. And then all this conference reconfiguration, expansion, contraction, that's another huge factor. And then, of course, NIL. And none of us, besides knowing that Texas A&M's a major player, and Texas and Miami, probably USC, Ohio State, Michigan, etc., besides knowing that, not knowing what NIL is going to mean to the elevation of some programs and the deterioration of other programs. those, I believe, are the three biggest factors over the next 10 years in regards to predicting national championships. That said, I settled on this. Bama 2, Georgia 2, Ohio State 2, USC, Notre Dame, Miami, Texas A&M 1 each. Let's rewind, and I'll take this call in just a second. Let's rewind 10 years. So we're sitting here in the summer of 2012. We're sitting here in the summer of 2012. Bama's the national champion from the previous season. Boy, that's a shocker. And certainly some things don't change. Bama had just beaten LSU, who probably had the best season. But Bama won the national championship game. So we're sitting here June of 2012. And I didn't have any gray in my beard at that point. But anyway, I was probably clean shaven. I don't know, maybe not. 2012. Anyway, and Florida State was about to win a national championship. And then a college football playoff was going to start the next season. So we had 2012 and 13. So do you think in the summer of 2012, and it's impossible for us to go back and really think about what we would have envisioned, but a decade of 4 Alabama national championships, right? 4. Clemson 2. That's 6. And then 4 other teams. Florida State, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia. All right. One other topic I wanted to hit on before we hit some calls, and certainly you can call in, and nobody's on the line now. We didn't really get deep into head coaching hot seats. These are the guys I'm listing in no particular order. Mike Norvell. Right? 3rd season. I don't think a coach should generally be axed after 2 seasons. But Mike Norvell, okay, this is going to be a 3rd season, 3-6. The pandemic year, that's difficult to deal with. And I've explained so many times why that should not be, a head coach shouldn't be held accountable as much in that pandemic year as a first-year head coach, because you're trying to implement a new coaching staff, relationships, terminology, all of that, and you can't meet with your team. So Mike Norvell, anyway, goes 3-6, 5-7. I don't think it's a hard and fast number for Mike Norvell or any of these coaches, but I got to think that he's got to go 7-5. Go 7-5, and then that bowl game is going to put a certain spin on that season as well, because it's going to be another quality opponent. And did they cap it off by going out of conference and winning 8-5? But yeah, 7-5. D-Rock Irish, I'm right there with you. So I've got my coaches listed, and D-Rock Irish has 3 of them right there. So Norvell's my first one. Number 2 is Dino Babers. Has had 1 good season at Syracuse. I know it's tough to win at Syracuse. I know it's difficult to get football players to go to Syracuse from all over the country, and they're typically getting guys that are the 4th level. I'm just making up a level, 4th, 5th level, whatever you want to say, in Florida. And but consider that up until the early 2000s, Syracuse was an excellent football program most of the time. Under Paul Pasqualoni, Don McPherson, excellent football program up until the early 2000s. Then they had some rough years, but then they rebounded under the likes of Doug Marrone, and they found their Scott Schaefer. They found their 7-5 range, and we're going to bowl games. Now under Dino Babers, we're looking at what? 2016 was his first year? 2016? Maybe 17. Thought it was 2016. That would be 6 seasons. He's had 1 good season. one good season. 10-3, smoke and mirrors, lost to Notre Dame by 33. Syracuse was not that good. The year they went 10-3, they were not that good. They were not anywhere close to being like the 15th best team in the country, and that's where they finished ranked. So he was fortunate that year. Bad non-conference schedule. The conference schedule worked in his favor. Dino Babers, and I like the man. He seems like a class act. Seems like he's good for college football, good for the guys that he coaches, but got to win. Got to go to bowl games at Syracuse most of the time. All right. I will finish my coaching list, but we're going to take a call. And before we do that, catch up with our super chat coming in here. Leon Hurricanes. Appreciate you so much, Leon. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's all about the U. Go Canes. I just read them. It's all about the U. Go Canes. I just want to know what it's means. I just want the definition of that. I just want the clarification on it's. Whatever it's means, that holds the entire key to that phrase right there. What is it's? It's all about the U. Where's this it? Wherever it is, it's all about the U. I have yet to run across the it because it's all about a bunch of things. But Leon, for you, it's all about the U. Go Canes. Appreciate your contribution once again. Thank you so much for that. And everyone shop Amazon. Use the link that we provide in the description section. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line? Oh, just switch some things over. Yeah, who's on the line? Hello?
Lomansky Mark.
Lomansky. How are you?
My whole goal was to beat the MVP on the phone. That was my goal this weekend. I'm proud of myself.
You reached your goal. You got high goals in life, Lomansky.
And I don't dial till you make the announcement. I don't cheat. I wait till you say the phone lines are open. I try to be like an official Kentucky Derby deal.
You're not one of those people that cheats at Family Feud. You hold your hand behind your back. Yeah.
Right. So you talked about, who your listeners are, and I'm a proxy for George. He's kind of half an Iowa Hawkeye and half a Gator, so make note of that.
George is?
And, I think so. The way he compliments the Hawkeyes, I think he's half a Hawkeye.
Okay. Ask him to name 3 Iowa players.
Well, then he's got Minnesota tonight. He's typing in Minnesota like the Gophers.
He's all over the place.
I think he's delusional. I don't know. He's a nice guy. Say, is this the year 2022 where you acknowledge that Michigan is defending Big Ten champion and put their helmet next to Ohio State that's front and center on your top shelf?
The positioning of these helmets, again, means absolutely nothing. What I'm going to have to do in the future. So I threatened the other night because, man, I had all sorts of people ordering me around, look over your left shoulder, right shoulder, do this, do that, move this one, move that. I was a little irritable the other night after that was going on for a while that I threatened to say, well, I did say, and I threatened to just clear the shelf of all the helmets for about 3 months. Just no helmets, no nothing for 3 months. Just to see what people would do.
I think you do an excellent job of the helmets, and I rescind my request.
I'm already in motion, Lomansky. You can't rescind it now. Michigan's front and center. There they are. They're blocked out by my head, but they're front and center. I wanted to display the Oregon State more than anything. They were getting let's take Miami. Let's get rid of them. Put them where nobody can see them. How about I want Oregon State there because that's the new one. And whomever got that for me, they need to be recognized and honored.
Well, I'm going to sign off and just pick on MVP that he better get on the stick because he got beat tonight, and he's even though he won the bowl game last year, he got beat to the phones today, so he can't be too proud of his dial-in ability.
We do have that bowl game connection going between you two. That's right.
If we had a quarterback that would not throw interceptions, maybe we would have had that one. An interesting thing about Iowa's bowl game back then, if you follow Mike Zimmer, the Vikings, and how he's defensive oriented and really doesn't focus on the offense, there's some similarities between the Minnesota Vikings and Iowa Hawkeyes. And I'll leave it at that and let somebody else call and greet you a good evening.
Lemansky, I appreciate it. You have a good night. Thanks for calling. You are the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I'm so proud I beat MVP based on losing that bowl game. I'm just makes my weekend.
I'm sure it makes up for that bowl game loss. Absolutely.
Talk to you later.
Thanks, Lemansky. You have a good night. So we've got somebody. Oh, Leon Hurricanes. That's going to do it. Hang on just a second. So somebody was asking me. Okay. Somebody was asking me to set these helmets up based on the quality of the teams. I'm losing the comment. I can't find it. But anyway, somebody was basically saying, Oregon State should be dropped because we should have a hierarchy to the helmets. Well, we got a nice little display off to the side here on the table, and then we've got the one. So I wouldn't know what to prioritize, but if you're going to prioritize based on like prominence, like are we talking like right now? Then take these down, and you're going to go Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. So we're just going to be up here. Can we balance that on there? Can we do that? Don't think so. All right. So we've reconfigured them again, but money does talk. Leon Hurricanes, put the Canes helmet back on display. Where do you want it exactly, Leon? Where is the prime position for the Canes helmet? I don't know which the prime position is because actually, let me do this. When I have no graphics, see, when we start this whole thing, then, I kind of consider that. Sometimes I shoot some videos and I've got no graphics in the screen, and I consider that to be the prime position. But of course, the graphics cover that up. So Michigan's got the spot right now. But Leon, whatever you think that is, you just let me know where you can see it. Okay. All right. How's that? That's where I assume you can see it right there, Leon. Replace Texas with Miami. Okay. Well, you know what you may need to do this, send me like 50 Miami helmets and that'll take care of everything. I'm just going to put them everywhere. All right. Uncle Rico, you know what? There were a few different shows. I saw something on YouTube the other day. I forget which YouTuber it is. And then I also saw that there's this site, I can't think of their names either, on Twitter, that they are always posting lists. And I thought to myself, Uncle Rico is always making comments about me being king of the lists, which I'm not. I do a list once in a while. These people are doing lists like every day, multiple times a day. Okay, Uncle Rico says, how much to toss the Michigan helmet in the trash? To toss it in the trash permanently? So we've got a number of different interpretations of that. I will toss it. I will bring out a trash can and I will toss it in the trash for $50. But I'm just going to, that's just going to be a little stunt. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm going to take it out, put it back up. If you want to toss it in the trash permanently, like not to be seen ever again, man, going to have to kind of pay my salary for the next few years. What are we going to go? 200 grand times 5, give me $1 million. I get rid of it. I can be bought. $1 million. I toss the Michigan helmet. We never see it again. If we want to toss it for like the next 3 months, we can go maybe in the 10,000 range for 3 months. How's that? Okay. But Uncle Rico, for now, I appreciate you just letting me know that you've got a question to just kind of price me out to see where we stand. And I will make a note of the ticker at the bottom of the screen again. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, which is actually more effective than YouTube. Wink, wink. Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Search Mark Rogers TV. But I'll certainly enjoy the super chats. Thank you so much for those. Those are much appreciated. There is no way that I can in any way correctly, accurately, effectively convey how much I appreciate the super chats. Thank you so much for those. But understand, Mike, $50 is a good deal, but $50 just throws it in the trash. It is just basically for the exhilaration of seeing me just smash it in the trash. But I'm going to pull it out like in 10 minutes after that. I'm taking the helmet out of the trash. Okay. Nick is asking, which is more likely in the 4 years, a national championship at Missouri or at Missouri State at FCS? Well, I will need to apply my FCS knowledge to that and go like this. Missouri's got a 0% chance, so Missouri State, I guess, would win that battle. Okay, back to my head coaches on the hot seat. We also have Scott Frost. If Scott Frost goes, I'll say 5-7, does not go to postseason play, you're looking at 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. All awful seasons. Oh, my good Ferris. I'll get to you in just a second. So back to Scott Frost. If he doesn't go to a bowl game and he does not get fired, I basically am going to come to the conclusion that Nebraska is telling us that we are now Kansas, Illinois, Rutgers, Duke. That's who we are. We don't need to go to bowl game. Like, we don't even have that high of a standard. Uncle Rico, I do need to. There is some kind of, I think I need OBS, I believe is the name of the application, and I run off of StreamYard to be able to, yes, read the messages off of Venmo Live and also be able to be alerted to the Venmo or the PayPal, the Cash App donation coming in real time. So no, you don't get the benefit of that. What I need to do is I need to at least, and I think about this stuff all the time. Believe me, you guys, I think about how do I best recognize contributions. And I'm not just talking about financial contributions. I'm talking about George contributions, talking about Cheryl contributions. I'm talking about all contributions count. You can contribute in a lot of different ways. Cheryl's here all the time in the chat, moderating the chat. She's faithful. She's loyal. She's here. That means as much to me as anything. And others as well. So not just Cheryl, but others as well. So yeah, recognizing everybody. But in particular, when you talk about contributions, yes, being able to say, okay, because I do have people that not nearly as much as what you see in the super chats, but every so often I'll get a contribution through one of those three services, and I need to honor that because that person, I'll certainly send them a message back to let them know, thank you so much for this. I appreciate the generosity, blah, blah, blah. But they don't get any kind of recognition here. All right. Ferris asked about Lemansky, thank you so much for, I lost track of it. Thank you for that. Appreciate the super sticker. I believe what that is. Ferris asked about, and this is, we'll get back to the college football in 30 seconds. Mark, have you called Manscaped or Roman? Many sites have them as advertisers. Yes. I've not called them. No, they've called me. I had all sorts of Manscaped products back here. They sent me a bunch of free products, and I talked them up for a little while. And yeah, we need real sponsors, and nothing against those particular companies, but they just want to trade merchandise for promo codes and all that sort of thing. So that doesn't really help us. So anyway, back to the college football. And real quick, before I get to this next call, James Franklin, 11-11 the last 2 years. I got to think you're making a zillion. So the only issue there is, of course, they just ponied up a ton of money and the buyout would be ridiculous. But besides that, I got to think Penn State, most disappointing record in the country to me last year. Penn State 7-6. So much better than that. So much more talent. They had a top 5 defense in the country athletically and sometimes played it that way. James Franklin, if he goes 7-5 again, he's recruiting well, but my goodness. David Shaw was brought up by DeReal MVP the other night, coming off 3-9, 4-8, 11-19 the last 3 years. But I just think he's safe because I think we got different conditions in the Pac-12 and with Stanford. Tony Siracusa was on here one time to kind of run through the financial woes of a lot of schools coming out of the pandemic athletically in the athletic departments at places like Cal and Stanford, and why their coaches are a bit more protected. So David Shaw's got a lot of equity and a lot of respect at Stanford and across college football. So I put him in a different place also because Stanford has different priorities. And I just think that he, even though he has not done enough, I don't believe, to warrant that type of respect. I have a ton of respect for the guy. I'm not talking about from that perspective, respect. I have respect for the man, but in terms of equity that he's built in the program, I think he basically came off the coattails of Harbaugh, and he wrote it and he wrote it out, and they were great, and then they were good, and now they're bad. But I think he's safe. Chip Kelly, don't let 8-4 fool you. That was a bad 8-4. They beat no one. They lost to anybody decent. LSU, you can argue that that was a decent win because LSU is so talented, but of course they were 6-7. So Chip Kelly's got to win. Sark, I know it's only a second season, but can you imagine if Texas goes 5-7 again? Anybody can, he's recruiting well, but everybody, Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, they brought in top 5 classes too. So maybe Sark, Texas would have the money to say, you know what, we can't handle this anymore. We just went 5-7 again. He's gone, done. And then finally, of course, Brian Harson's number 1 on everybody's list. Last season, and what happened during the offseason where Auburn really wanted to usher him out, that's just, he would have to have such success on the field to override the ill will and the damage that's been done, that you got to think another 6-6, 7-5 or worse, done. Brian Harson out at Auburn. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Yeah, hey, this is Eddie, Michigan State fan. You can, I suppose, take that down for the list.
Michigan State. If you hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, I'm not taking any kind of list here, but just do that and we'll mark it down. I appreciate that. So what's up?
Yeah, I wanted to ask while I was here, tangentially to what we were just talking about with James Franklin, with the Big Ten, with all kind of the realignment of college football. Obviously, I'm a Michigan State fan. The Big Ten East is tough, but the Pac-12, they just scrapped divisions. The SEC is moving to this pod setup. I just wanted to get your take on, do you think divisions have been good or bad for college football in general? And then do you think the Big Ten is going to drop divisions and just do best two, which obviously would create some interesting maybe play like matchups? You might have Michigan, Ohio State the last week of the year, and then maybe they'd play again the next week.
Yeah, so the abolishment of divisions, of course, sets up what is most fair, which is the top two teams in the conference, regardless of division format, being matched up in the championship game. So it's the most fair format. And also, right now, we've got a situation that if one division is much better than the other, which is pretty much the condition in all the conferences and has been for a long time. The Atlantic's better than the Coastal and always has been in the ACC, and the East is, or the West is better than the East in the SEC, always has been, or at least going back to the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And then, of course, the East and the West, and the way that's played out, 8 consecutive East winners in the Big Ten championship game. But from top to bottom, there's not much separation between the East and the West. We've ran the numbers, and the wins are about equal. The issue is that the West is just full of a lot of decent teams, and the East is divided between 3 or 4, depending on whether Penn State or Michigan State's having a good year, 3 or 4 really good teams, and then it drops off the table, and the West feasts on the bottom of the Big Ten East. So the overall games is about equal between the two divisions, but that doesn't matter in determining the champion. It matters about the best teams, and the Big Ten East always has the best teams. So I don't think divisions have been harmful to college football. I like the setup of the divisions, but there has to be a lot of foresight and wisdom placed into setting up the divisions. So if we get rid of the divisions, then we've got exactly the situation that you just set up, where Ohio State and Michigan in particular could play on a regular basis in a conference championship setting. Let's just say we're 10 years into this, and Ohio State and Michigan 4 times have played back-to-back weeks. I don't know how people are going to view the regular season matchup, if that's going to take away. It is going to take away from the regular season matchup, especially sometimes if the two teams in any conference are dominant enough. There's going to be a time in certain years when we know going into the last regular season game that they're going to play the next week anyway. And that really ruins the regular season matchup. So there are pitfalls to
certainly
everything.
I mean, hopefully Michigan State has something to say, or Penn State, but
sure.
I mean,
and they will.
You just don't know with some of those matchups that are bookended for the last week of the year. Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, some of those.
I think all the conferences and whatever impact the playoff committee has on what they're doing is looking forward to a expanded playoff, and nobody wanting, let's say, an 8-4 division winner to pull off an upset in a conference championship game and go to the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, can't argue with that. I mean, we've seen some almost in that realm. But yeah, I'll drop off, Mark. Just wanted to like the show. Just wanted to kind of get your take on that one.
Appreciate that. Have a good night. All right. Appreciate. I got Daniel here. Michigan fans, what do you guys think about the chains you got for beating Ohio State copycats? Okay. Do we have a little reward for the maize and blue, I guess? See, you guys are bothered by, and you have every reason to be bothered by the possibility of a marginal team winning a bad division and getting a shot at a really good team, knocking them off and getting to the the college football playoff, winning the conference. And it's possible, but you know what? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The worst team So the SEC, let's start with the SEC. The SEC has been playing championship games longer than anyone, 1992. So 92 through 21, that's exactly 30 SEC championship games. The worst. There has never been an 8-4 SEC winner that's been then 9-4 after winning the conference championship game. I don't even know if we can find a 10-3 team that's won the SEC. So in 30 years in the SEC, and I know that the other conferences are different, we will go through the other ones. We've not had an SEC champion. I think 11-2. Can I think of a 10-3? Yes. Otissus 2002 will address Wisconsin in 2012. They were the fourth or fifth place team, though. We're talking about double probation going on that season. Okay. And the conference could change things in a situation like that. So we'll get to that. Something tells me that when Alabama upset Florida in 96, that I think they were 10-3 that year. That might be the only 3-loss SEC champion. That's right, John. Yes, the SEC is overrated. So the SEC's out of the way. I got a pretty good recollection of all the SEC. I actually do have a recollection of every SEC championship game. I just can't exactly pinpoint everybody's record. I don't think there were opportunities. There was an 8-4 Mississippi State team. Well, they were 8-3 going into the game. There was an Arkansas team in 1995, and an Arkansas team in 06 that had 3 losses. So there were just a couple opportunities, but those teams didn't win. So you did not have an SEC champion in 30 years with more than 2 losses. South Carolina would have been an interesting one in 2010, the team that lost to Cam Newton by 1,000,000 points. And Auburn, that 2010 South Carolina team, they were 8-4. So they would have been 8-3 going into the game. They lost to go to 8-4. They lost a bowl game to finish 8-5. So they were 8-3 going in. They would have been 9-3 had they pulled off the upset. And they almost did. It was 56-17. So basically, I'm just telling you that nobody's won the SEC with more than 2 losses in 30 years. Okay, the ACC. The last, quote-unquote, bad ACC team to win the conference championship. Florida State. Look up Florida State 2005. That almost beat a top 3 Penn State team in the Orange Bowl. Took them to overtime. Florida State, after they won the ACC championship game, was 8-4 or 9-4. I'm not remembering when we switched. Different teams switched to 12 games at different times. But I know that Florida State had 5 losses after the bowl game. But that was after the bowl game and after they lost the ACC championship game. Or they won the ACC championship game. So look up Florida State 2005, whatever their record was. It was like 9-4. That would have been the last time in the ACC. So that was 17 years ago. The Big Ten. Otissus 2002 brought up the Wisconsin team of 2012. Different situation. You had Ohio State 12-0, probation. Penn State 8-4, probation. Wisconsin was 8 and they were 7-5. Yes, Brian, I understand. I know that Wisconsin was 8-6. I got it. Wisconsin was 7-5 in the regular season. They were in third place. They were actually 4-4 in the division. They were in third place in whatever it was, Legends Leaders, whichever one it was at the time. basically the Western Division. And they went to the Big Ten championship game. They upset Nebraska. They were then 8-5. They lost the Rose Bowl. They went 8-6. But okay, if you've got double probation going on in one division and you've got to go to a third place team, you could always have a rule in place to say if we've got probation issues, then we can go to the same division, something like that. Same thing with UCLA, USC in one of the Pac-12 championship games where USC was so much better than UCLA. They beat them 50-0, and UCLA still went to the Pac-12 championship game either the first or second year at 5-4. But again, even Pac-12, there has not been a Pac-12 winner with 4 losses. 3 losses, Washington 10-3 a couple of years ago. Washington 10-3 in 2018, USC 10-3 in 2017. No. USC went to the Rose Bowl. My bad. USC went to the Rose Bowl in 2016. They did not win the Pac-12. Washington won. They were 11-1. So besides Washington in 2018, Pac-12, even the Pac-12 has not delivered 3-loss champions. So just letting you know. And I'm not critical of anybody who says, get rid of divisions. We want the 2 best teams in the conference. That's fine. I understand the logic. It's obvious what the logic is. I get it. And I can support it. I'm not that fervent about it. It's not like when we discuss playoff expansion or scheduling or those things. And I'm like, this is screwed up. We need to fix this. And this is how we should do it. When you guys bring up divisions and I'm okay if the divisions continue. That's fine. But if they don't, I'm also fine with that. And I agree with the logic. Welcome into the voice of college football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's the real MVP. How you doing?
I am doing just fine. How's it going?
It's going good. Can I respond to what you've said over the last few minutes?
I will let you in just a second. Cyber, just to be correct on Charles Woodson's Heisman, that would be 1997. Okay, the real MVP. Go to it.
Okay, so your reasoning for divisions, or you don't care, or you don't mind having a 7-5 team potentially making the college football playoff is because it hasn't happened.
Oh, okay.
I don't think the college football committee hasn't screwed it up, but I don't think that's a good indicator to use them.
I can see how you can get that out of what I just said, just because, no, I don't. It's almost like the playoff when people say, well, we don't need to expand the playoff because the teams that make it aren't even good enough to play the other teams that made it. So why expand it? Well, so I understand that because I've used the argument, well, it's not my responsibility to make teams good. You know, it would be my responsibility as the commissioner or the head of a committee to do what's fair and right and just, and then let the schools figure out who's, how to make themselves football powers. But in this case, yeah, I don't have an issue with if you've got a conference and in one particular year, one division winners down, they're 7-5, and they pull off an upset in the conference championship game. It's fair and square. You've got a conference set up, split divisions. Everybody knows what the deal is. It's fair and square. It's objective, and they pulled off an upset. They were better than the rest of their division. I don't have an issue with it myself.
Well, I get that, but I think it's going to, regardless of this entire discussion, it's going to move to no divisions because there's going to be a bubble team. Too.
And I don't care.
Yeah,
Again,
that's right
when
on
that
the
happens, I'm not going to be ranting and raving or throwing up my hands and beating the desk. I'm going to be like, that's fine. I understand why you would do it. Absolutely. I understand the logic of it. Absolutely. I just don't care if a division winner goes 7-5. I think it's kind of intriguing myself. The New York Giants won the Super Bowl. They were 9-7. They got into the playoffs. They earned it.
Yeah, I guess they earned it. If you mean, I guess
they won 4 consecutive postseason games.
Yeah, but I don't think they were the best team that year. So I mean, they won the title. They beat the best team, but I think if they played the Patriots 10 times, they probably lose 9 out of 10 times. And they just
Well, isn't that what sports
happen
is
to
all
get lucky
about?
on a few catches.
They,
Yeah, there is an entertainment product, but you got to find the line between a competitive balance and entertainment.
oh yeah, you do. We want, if it was entertainment, then guess we could do all sorts of crazy things. Yeah, I'm all about competition. That's why I want a justified playoff, a valid playoff, and not an invitational.
And that's fine. That's fine. I wouldn't mind that personally. But Mark, you've been asking this what ifs question. So in light of that, I got some more over unders for you.
Oh, great.
Do you want to take a chance at these over unders?
Yeah, I want to guess them first.
Okay. I'm going to do the Big Ten.
Okay.
I'm just going to go. And so the first one we got up is Indiana. What's their over under?
5.
It's 4.
Okay.
And do you think they're going to go over or under it?
Well, I'd have to look at the schedule, but off the top of my head, I'm going to say that they're going to go over.
Okay. Maryland.
6.
You're right.
I think that's dead on. I'll say over.
Michigan.
9.5.
What'd you say?
9.5.
That's exactly right. 2 for 2.
2 for 3.
Oh, 2 for 3.
Michigan's going to go 9.5. Ugh. Under.
Michigan State.
Michigan State is probably at 8.5.
7.5.
Oh, over.
Ohio State.
10.5.
Exactly right.
Over.
Penn State.
And I don't say that lightly, but over. Penn State. Penn State. Man, Penn State intrigues me. See if James Franklin can coach a little bit this year. Penn State is 7.5.
8.5.
Okay. Under.
Okay. Rutgers.
Rutgers at 4.5.
4.
Oh boy. I think that's pretty dead on. If I had to bet,
You could always push.
Oh, I would go with a push. I would go with a push on Rutgers, and the other one I think was Maryland. I would definitely say Maryland's at 6-6. Rutgers, 4-8.
Okay. Illinois.
Illinois went 5-7 last year. They are at 4.5.
Exactly right.
I know they've got to play Ohio State. I wonder who else in the Big Ten East. I know they've got a game against Virginia non-conference. I'm going to say under.
Okay. Iowa.
Good old Iowa. The Iowa Hawkeyes and their prolific offense. 7.5.
That's right as well.
Okay. Wow. Over.
Minnesota.
Minnesota's at they should be right there with Iowa. But for some reason, I think that they're going to get knocked down just a touch. I'm going to say 7.
7.5.
Should have went with my initial reaction. I'm going to say that Minnesota's 7.5. Who do they've got? I don't think they've got anybody out of conference that's worth anything. Over. Yeah, Lemansky, I love PJ.
Okay. Nebraska.
Nebraska. 3? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Nebraska's at 5.5.
They're also at 7.5.
Oh, give me that under. And if I could only play one, that's the one I would be playing thus far. And I don't think Nebraska's bad. I think they're going to improve considerably, but they got to go 8-4 for me to lose that. Good Lord. Venice here is saying that Nebraska is going over.
Okay. Northwestern.
3-9, win a Big Ten championship or win a division championship. 3-9, win a division. They were awful last year. They're still going to be awful. They're 4.5.
4.
I can't imagine they're playing anybody outside the conference. They never do. I'll say over reluctantly.
Purdue.
Purdue's probably at 6.5.
They are, believe it or not, also at 7.5.
Okay, well, I don't have that much faith in Purdue. I think they've got a nice little thing going there, but 8-4 might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know who they've got out of conference. I'll say under.
And finally, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. If those other teams were 7.5, Wisconsin's at 8.5.
That's right.
Okay. That's a tough call, but I'm going to say Wisconsin goes 9-3 over.
Okay. All those odds were by DraftKings. That's where I got them from. Was it surprising that so many were 7.5 in the West Division? It's a real log jam there.
That's the West Division. That's it. Vegas is on it. They know. I'm going to have to do this on, you prepped me well to Real MVP because I got to do this on Michigan Podcast on Tuesday. I've got to respond to Steve Dace's over-under selection. So,
well, I've got you ready, hopefully.
I think he's going all over the map, all over the country. So I'm going to have to, you got me started in a good place.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark. Hopefully, Steve Dace doesn't have Michigan at like 11.5, because I know he's the highest person on Michigan, maybe on planet Earth. So
that win last year just changed him.
I know. It's kind of going to be sad to see them when they lose 49-7 or 49-14. I mean, I kind of disagree with you in your video saying Michigan had a 20% chance to win. I think it's probably closer to 10 or 5%.
Okay. That's fine.
So,
I'll stay with 20%.
Okay. That's all I got for you, Mark.
Well, thank you, man. Appreciate the call. We'll see you. All right. Yeah, we do have a series that the Real MVP alluded to. It's called basically, Is This the Year? So we've already posted 3 of these. So check them out. 2 here on the main channel, 1 on the Iowa channel. Iowa fans, you may want to cover your ears and eyes, although you already know this. I went through the Iowa offensive rankings over the last 15 or 16 years to try to go back to find When has Iowa produced a top 50 rushing attack, top 50 passing attack, or a top 50 scoring offense? Any of those. Not that they had to do all three of them in the same year. Any of those. Iowa's had ridiculously horrible offenses for a long time. Like, they never have a good offense. Never. It always sucks or completely sucks. Those are the only two options for Iowa football offensively. We suck this year. At least we don't totally suck like we did last year. It's unbelievable how bad they've been. Like, I was even stunned. So my question is this the year that Iowa finally is a top 50 offense in any category? Because it's been like 16, 17 years in all these different categories that they've had a top 50 offense. Check out the videos here posted on the main channel. Is this the year Michigan wins in Columbus? It's been since 2000. And we just don't lay it out there. We supply a lot of reasons to think one way or the other. We deliver a lot of truth, a lot of facts, a lot of metrics. To let you know what Ohio State's done against top 10, top 15 opponents at home, and what Michigan's done on the road against top opponents. That's eye-opening. Not surprising, but eye-opening. Then the other one was Notre Dame has not won a major bowl game since 1994. Good Lord, 1994. If we would list all the teams that have won major bowl games since 1994, Louisville's on that list. Tons of teams are on that list. Oregon State's on that list. Notre Dame is not on that list. So the question there, D-Rock Irish, for as much as you probably cringe hearing this, when is the next time that, is this going to be the year that Notre Dame wins a major bowl game? Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line? Hello? Hello? Going once? Going twice? Hello? All right. D-Rock Irish is letting us know that if Iowa gets to 7 wins, Kirk Ferentz gets another $750,000 bonus as an incentive clause. Is this true? Pardon me, D-Rock Irish, for doubting your statement there, but I'm not aware of that. Maybe that's a conversation piece on our Iowa show Tuesday at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. That's pathetic. A bonus for going 7-5. Like, is that for the entire season, including a bowl game? They could go 6-6. He wins a 7th game in a bowl game and gets a pop like that. We got to save that one. D-Rock Irish, if I don't bring that up, and I'm going to try to remember, because if I write it down, I do this all the time, write stuff down, and then it's gone. Then please, D-Rock Irish, if you're in our Iowa chat on Tuesday, bring that up, because that has to be discussed. That is unbelievable. Canes 1989 is asking, Mark, who is your college football team? And many people blew it for me here because I could have gone a number of ways, been nice and sarcastic. Could have told Canes 1989 what a Miami fan I am. That's the reason I do 2 Miami shows. I don't do 2 shows for anybody. And of course, for about 120 teams in college football, we don't do any shows. But we do 2 Miami shows every week because I'm such a Miami fan. As Kirby's Visor lets us know, Sam Pittman just got a $5 million bump, or a bump to $5 million annually. He's earned it. Arkansas was a disaster. Had not won a SEC game 2 consecutive years. 0-16 in the SEC. 3-7 the first year under Sam Pittman versus an SEC only schedule. And if you watch the games, watch them play like I did, you knew they were better than 3-7. So he improved them remarkably. Like Chad Morris was losing to North Texas, Western Kentucky, Colorado State, somebody else in the group of 5, and beating no one in the SEC. Sam Pittman, they just went 9-4 in the SEC West. They played one bad game, and that was against Georgia. I think we can forgive him for that. Other than that, they lost a game to Ole Miss on a 2-point conversion in a 52-51 game on the road in the SEC against a top 10 team. You know, they played Alabama within a touchdown in Tuscaloosa. They beat Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher and all that money and all those resources and all that recruiting. And I know the 2022 class obviously didn't play in that game, but Texas A&M was tearing it up in recruiting before that. So Sam Pittman, my goodness, he's done a great job. All right, next call here at the Voice of College Football. But before that, somebody had asked me if I remembered something. Where was that? Canes 1989. Mark, do you remember when North Dakota State beat Iowa or Iowa State a few years ago? Well, they did beat Iowa. I believe that was in 2016. And somebody else beat Iowa State. So some recent FCS wins against good or quality, decent at least, Power 5 teams would include Kansas State went down here in the last 6 or 7 years. Iowa did. Iowa State did. And, of course, Michigan, 2007. But then there's been a few, like Georgia Tech's lost to an FCS team, and Rutgers, Illinois. Shoot, it seems like somebody in the Pac-12 North loses to an FCS team every year. Washington, Oregon State, Cal. That seems to be like every year. All right, next up here at the Voice of College Football, who's on the line?
Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir. Who's on the line? Hello? All right. Let's give this a shot one more time. I don't know why they keeps dropping. Hello,
Sorry
who's on the
about
line?
that. I hit the wrong button.
There we go. What's going on?
This is Joe.
Joe, how are you?
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button.
No
anyway,
problem.
I've been wondering this question for a while. It's a bit technical,
Okay,
but I was hoping you would answer it.
sure.
A little while back, I was watching this documentary. It was this YouTuber. He was talking about college baseball, and he was advocating for more paid tuition or something like that. And one of his reasons for it was that the college baseball makes more money for the NCAA than does college football in regards to allocating money to the NCAA itself, the organization. It said that of the 2 championship games, March Madness and the College World Series generate more money, net value for the NCAA than does the college football playoff. And it got me thinking, do you know, or you're more knowledgeable about this, but what is the relationship, but what is the unique relationship between college athletics in regards to football and the NCAA, and why is it so different compared to other sports that are more intertwined? Like when you see like the official names of like college events and other sports, like college basketball, it usually says like the NCAA March Madness tournament. It doesn't usually say that with college football, for instance. Why do you think that is?
That's an amazing question. So the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about the revenue that's generated and the money that goes to the NCAA, the first thing that comes to mind would be that there's no question that the college football playoff generates the most money. However, it also by far is the highest rights fee of any of those sports, and certainly way higher than baseball. So that's something I would ask all the time when I would give people tours at ESPN, is I would ask them, because they'd be gawking at all the equipment and all that sort of thing and all the production trucks. And I'd say, what do you think costs this network the most amount of money? And they'd name everything that you could imagine. And I'd say, no, rights fees to games. That's what costs the most money, paying the NFL, Major League Baseball, et cetera, but also the rights fees for the different conferences. So that would be my quick and short answer in terms of how that gets distributed, because you bring up a good point, and that never dawned on me, of the connection between the NCAA and what you see in basketball and baseball and the Olympic sports versus football. That's something I was much more involved in when I was covering college athletics, 20 years ago, firsthand, actually, going to the games and covering it for TV stations rather than what I'm doing now. So I don't have a great answer for you. I did see some comments in the chat just in regards to there being a court case that I must be forgetting. Harry is saying NCAA lost the court case. Trying to think what that would I'll have to look that up and see if that sparks my memory, but I'm not. So where did you hear the information about the revenue split and why the NCAA makes, or not why, but that they do make more money off baseball and basketball?
I'll look for the specific video itself. It's a pretty good video. It's I forget exactly what it's about, but it's talking about how scholarship offers aren't given to every single baseball player in a given college, and it's one of the reasons why private schools such as Vanderbilt do so much better than, or not so much better, but disproportionately better than like more public schools, because they can advocate for stuff like that. In regards to baseball, it's there's a big split almost. Like the problem doesn't really happen for softball because there's a lot less softball players on a given team. Like if you watch the average softball game, it's not uncommon for a pitcher to play the entire game, or for two pitchers to play one half and the other half. Whereas in the average college baseball game, you can cycle through three pitchers. I'll look for the video right now.
No, that's a great question. That is a great question. Some people in the chat are bringing up the Ed O'Bannon case against the NCAA. That is the only thing that I see stated there.
All right, I found it. It's called Uneven: College Baseball Scholarship Issue by Matt Wyatt.
Oh, Matt Wyatt. Shoot. I've had Matt Wyatt on here. He was, I'm going to assume it's the same Matt Wyatt. So I know Matt Wyatt. I used to interview him all the time. He's a Mississippi State quarterback back in the 90s. So I'll have to check that out. Maybe I'll have him on.
All right. Well, that's just all that I wanted to say. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate the phone call. A lot to think about there. And, the baseball scholarships are obviously only a half scholarship. I don't think that plays into that necessarily when it comes to the money distribution, but what you talk about concerning the ability of certain schools to field really good baseball teams. Well, thanks for the call.
All right. See ya.
All right, Matt Wyatt. Haven't heard that name in a while, and I lost track of Matt, but I did find him. It's funny because we crossed paths on social media a couple years ago, and I was like, "There's Matt Wyatt. He used to be the starting quarterback in Mississippi State. I used to talk to the guy all the time because I'd be at the practices, the games, the whole deal." And he may have actually found me. Anyway, so we had him on a couple times, and then I lost track of him again. So I'll have to see if he would like to come back on the show. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark.
Oh, my goodness. Whoa.
I thought I had him. Sorry.
Let's kick the habit, George.
I'm okay.
You
now.
okay? You all right?
I'm
Get
okay
yourself
now.
a glass of water.
Yeah, I'm okay now.
You got some water
I'll
handy
take
there?
a drink of beer. I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, got a beer. Very nice.
I'm okay, guys. Anyway, of course, as always, I have some hard-hitting football commentary.
Of
But
course.
first, I want to let you know, of course, as always. But on the real side of sports, I went to I think she's 9. I'm really getting bad with dates, but my granddaughter's soccer game.
Yeah.
That is so much fun. The other team had like a professional coach and thousands of dollars worth of uniforms and equipment. And my granddaughter's team is just some shit they do for fun on Saturdays, you know. They lost 10-1. But my granddaughter scored their only one goal.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
quite frankly, toward the end of the game, she had just quit. I'm looking at this 8-year-old girl that just refused to run. She doesn't care if the coach is mad anymore. It was the last game of the season. They were down by 9. There was like 3 minutes to go, and the coach was yelling, "Run, run," and she would just like halfway shuffle. I got to have a chat with her about finishing out the game.
how old is she?
I think she's 8 or 9.
Yeah, I lived a lot of years of going to girls softball games. I did.
It just makes me feel so good to see kids get out and run and play anymore. Like, you know, instead of staring at their phone.
This is true.
Anyway, on a different subject, I just want everybody to know I live in Oregon. Gas is about $5.70 a gallon here now.
Ooh.
Diesel is $6. I'm not even gonna, you know, I had it like my brain popped when it went to $4. So I don't even know. I'm in a twilight zone now, you know.
Have you heard about this happening, George? And I'm guessing since you're way ahead of me on the news that you have, but somebody alerted me to this, and I found a couple of news outlets that verify this, that there are gas stations out there that post certain prices on their signs, and then once people get in there, those aren't the real prices. So they might have like $4.29 on the sign, but then you get to the pump and the lowest price is like $5.29. And they actually had somebody with their phone that was videoing this, and they went inside, and the guy inside said, "Yeah, there's something wrong. There's nothing we can do about it." But then they had various reports from this happening in other gas stations. And these are major like gas stations. Like, I'm not going to name the gas stations because I don't want to screw up.
Right. Yeah,
but
we don't want to get in trouble.
yeah, I don't know exactly which ones they were, but they were recognizable major gas companies that were
They would all
falsely
do it if they
posting.
could get away with
They
it.
were all false, not all of them, but these various gas stations were falsely posting wrong, just thinking that, you know, nobody's going to notice, or certain people aren't going to notice, or they're going to get in there, and even if they get pissed off, they're going to be like, "Well, I'm already here," and they're just going to pay it. Couldn't believe that.
Yep.
But then again,
In
I was watching
in
the news
Oregon-
today, and I'm already not believing all sorts of crap that goes on in this country every day that's just kind of run amok beyond belief.
I don't necessarily believe anything I see on mainstream TV. I think that's all false news. That's psychological operations. But I believe some of the alternative shit I see.
Well, I didn't see that on the news.
I think
I
that's
saw
pretty-
that online. Yeah, people discovered that. Yes, sir. You all right now? You good?
Yeah, I was just typing. Power car said, "Is that you in the phone call, George?" So I had to take a second and type yes. But because I can multitask, I have a tablet and a phone. But you know what my kid told me? My kid said, "Dad, no one can really multitask at anything. They've proven that's just a theory.
Yep.
Because there's literally no way a human being can do more than one thing at once. You might think you're multitasking, but what you're actually doing is one thing and another thing and another thing and another thing and there's no such thing as doing two things at once. I don't know.
It is
It's a
very
good
true.
conversation to have, though. So you said the Gators had 3 losses and won that one year. What year? 96, maybe?
No. Alabama did against Florida.
Oh, Alabama did? What was that year that Oregon State beat USC that let the Gators win the title?
Oh, wait.
I'd ask you this for. Oh, wait. Did we only have 2 losses that year?
One.
The older I get,
you won the national championship. You only had 1 loss.
Oh, really?
There's only
I
one.
just know we were froze out.
There's only one team that's ever won a national championship with 2 losses. We were talking about conference championships, and people are concerned with bad teams winning conferences.
Mark, I look at a lot of YouTube channels, just naked HD fun. Fuck dad, what girls are here, bro. How come YouTube won't protect you from these people? I don't see this shit on any other channels I watch. How they attack you, they attack some other college football channels, and those are the only ones. And I refuse to believe that this induces anybody to partake in whatever they got going on, right? So it's a totally pointless exercise in the first place. So who's doing this? Who would do this? Who would write this nasty shit and post it in somebody's chat section?
People have nothing better to do. That's the only thing I can come up with. Some people are just mean-spirited people that don't feel good about themselves and just want to screw other people's lives and their situations up.
It could be worse. It could just be an AI. No one there, just somebody got a computer and they set it up on auto dial or something. Anyway, do you have the original opening schedule for the season this year? It starts on August 27th. You know this, right?
Yeah, it's week 0.
And the marquee game is
sure.
Right, week 0. Northwestern versus Nebraska is the marquee game because it's on Fox. Everything else is on a minor channel. You can see it all.
Yeah, it's the only game that involves 2 Power 5 teams.
Right. So I'm looking forward to that. 12:30. That's 9:30 a.m. for me.
They're playing in Ireland.
I get up at night.
Did you know that?
Oh, fuck. I take that back. It might be 4:30 in the afternoon here then. No, it says 12:30 p.m. They're talking about art. How does that?
Yeah, 12:30 Eastern. They're playing 12:30 Eastern, but they're playing at whatever time that's going to be, like 6:30 in Ireland. They're playing in Ireland.
I was going to say, yeah, you're right. It'll be 7 o'clock at night in Ireland or something, right?
Something like that. 6 hours, 7, something in that range.
Yeah, and then there's other games for people if they're hard up, which we all will be by that time of year. Vanderbilt, Hawaii, that'd be fun just for the heck of it. Florida A&M, North Carolina, get to see how North Carolina looks. Utah State, Connecticut, and for anybody who cares about that. But then you get to Thursday, September 1st, and there's some good games. But my gosh, when you get to September 3rd, Saturday, September 3rd, like I like to occasionally enjoy a beer during college football season. If I drink beer, I'm going to miss all the good games. I'm going to have to stay totally sober till like 5:30 at night, or I'm going to miss all these games. It's just like endless games that are all good games. There must be 100 of them. Have you seen this lineup for TV?
I look at it once in a while. It's kind of my job, so I have looked at it a few times.
For example, 10:30 p.m. Boise State versus Oregon State. I want to see that. 9:30 Washington State, Idaho. I'd like to see that. No, Stanford, Colgate, Texas, UNL, Monroe. I'd like to see all these teams, see how they're looking. Louisville, Syracuse, Alabama, Utah State. I want to check everybody's team out. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Oh my God, ABC 7:30. All right. Okay, Ferris tossed you a softball. He asked me to ask you, will the University of Kentucky win more than 3 games? I'm thinking that's a softball. Tossed you one.
Yeah. I really don't think we need to cover that ground. We've got somebody on the chat
Right.
that thinks that this YouTube channel should be investigated. I've never seen this person before.
He thinks somebody on what should be investigated?
That my YouTube channel should be investigated. Investigated for what? I have no idea.
Hopefully it's something good, like being the best college football show on the internet. Don't worry, man. If you ever got any trouble, just freaking call me. You got my number. First of all, you know you're not a legal fiction, right? You're not an all capital letter name. We're past that, right? I'm just messing with you now.
Okay, George.
Farrah said, "Thank you, George, for clearing that up."
I'm going to keep this thing moving.
Said you're going to be You're going to be investigated for being too awesome.
Being
Just
too awesome. We
said.
appreciate Tim.
Oh, maybe it's those damn chat bots he's talking about. Anyway, doesn't seem there should be a customer service number you call to YouTube and say there's a problem and they can block that shit forever.
Yeah, I could probably.
And they want us
look
to
into
put all
that.
of our banking. These same people want us to let the robot drive our car and do our banking, but they can't stop a bot in the chat. Isn't there a real disconnect going on here somewhere?
Oh, there's a disconnect.
We're gonna let the computer.
Yeah.
We're gonna let the computer drive a semi, but you can't stop a bot in the chat. And everybody gets to hack all our information every day from Kaiser, you know?
George,
Good Samaritan or whatever.
You know what's funny is like the last number of times that I've tried to send a tweet and I used some type of term like moronic or idiotic, Twitter stopped me and said, you need to review this tweet.
Whoa.
It has offensive language. And I'm like, are you serious? If I just say something's moronic, is that really that offensive? Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous.
That's unbelievable. I've actually seen that once or twice. But since I dropped Facebook and Twitter and all that, I don't see it anymore. But yeah, I know I've seen it once myself.
It is beyond ridiculous. All right, George, I'm going to move on to these other calls. Appreciate you being here.
All right. Here, Kane's 1989 has a question for you, and you have to say yes. He said, Mark, are you a HBCU fan?
I see it, George. We will get to it.
It's like, hell yeah. Like, come on. What kind of question is that?
All right, George.
All right. Love you guys.
That'll be my answer. We'll just go with what George said.
See you later. Hell yeah.
See you, George.
Exactly. Bye.
So the answer to Kane's 1989's question, Mark, are you an HBCU fan? Hell yeah. Do I watch it? No. I don't have time to watch it. That's like asking me, are you a Sun Belt Conference fan? How much Sun Belt Conference football do I watch? Can't say that I watch too much. Don't watch a whole lot of Group of Five conference just because I don't have time. It comes down to time. Do I like to watch? Would I watch some of those games? Absolutely. It's really good football. Always has been. And of course, there was a time when, oh my goodness, those schools produced Too Tall Jones and Everson Walls and Walter Payton and Jerry Rice and on 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 and on. But got to watch the big boys. Got to watch the big boys. That's what we do here, and I watch as much as possible. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, my name's Jay, man. I'm Jay from Sheffield.
Hey, Jay.
I'm from Sheffield, Alabama. I'm a Alabama fan,
Nice.
and I was just calling to stir the pot a little bit
Okay.
for the summer and tell everybody we gonna walk all over everybody this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna start my loud talking early this year.
Okay. Bama's going to walk over everybody this year. That's basically what you're going to deliver. Well, that wouldn't be any big surprise to me.
Well, this one might surprise you.
Okay.
Will Anderson for Heisman. I'm calling it now.
Yeah,
Will
that wouldn't
Anderson for
surprise me either.
Heisman with a total of 25 sacks.
25 sacks.
Let's say something crazy, like 25 sacks. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say that Will Anderson's the best defensive player in the country. Now, whether he gets – now, see, here's the deal. You can talk about who's going to win this and who's going to do this when you talk about games on the field. But when you talk about Heisman, you're talking about what people are going to vote. And I don't get into that because most of the people, a number of the people that vote for the Heisman don't know what they're talking about, don't know the sport, don't know what they're watching, don't watch most of it. So I would never go out on a limb to say who's going to win anything when it comes to the Heisman Trophy. I certainly think that Will Anderson, he was on my list of 12. So I put out 12 Heisman contenders and he was on the list. So he's amazing. But 25 sacks. What do you have this last year? You had like 17? What do you have, 19? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And we started off the year with a little less competition than we did last year. So really, to me, it's all about the coordinators for Bama. Coordinator creativity, all of that talent that those guys got. It's pretty much, we've been giving Pete Golden a million excuses. You know that. You hear from the Bama fans. Oh, he had freshmen, linebackers. All of that, that's what I call a booty hole. Everybody got one. You feel me? He still was a 5-star coming out of high school. But, yeah, man, coordinator creativity for Bama, and we should really walk all over everybody. I mean, we should have the greatest defense you've ever seen with the greatest offense you've ever seen, man. Roll Tide.
Well, I think you're loaded. I do think you're going to have one of the top 3 defenses in the country, and your offense is going to be right there. I do think that you need to, of course, replace your best running back. You're loaded at running back. You got Jahmyr Gibbs along with Roydell Williams, and, of course, Trey Sanders. The wide receiver core had a lot to – the wide receiver core needs to show us something this year.
I don't even think it's the wide receiver core for real. I think it's play calls. I mean, if you go back and watch that game against Texas A&M, Bama played, I watched it 5 times now. It is plays where I'm like, dude, if every time we go into a condensed package, they sending at the field safety, I'm not gonna keep giving you that same look when I know I got an athlete that instead of having an extra tight end, I could put a speed guy like Christian Leary or somebody like that. Bill O'Brien, he was a very questionable hire for me, because he really hadn't did anything in the NFL but 1 year when he was with Brady. Like, that's cool. Everybody's going to win when they're with freaking Brady. You know what I mean? That's just what's going to happen. But other than that, when you hear Bill O'Brien, the next thing that come to mind is Deshaun Watson and how he was a great quarterback that literally, we didn't know who this man was some games because of the play call, and now you come to Bama and we got all these 5-star receivers, and we never seen Bama really spread nobody out and go to a 5-receiver set, which I understand that ain't us, but still, when you got the talent, that needs to be us. I don't know, man, but coordinated creativity, we should look ahead. Roll Tide, guys. I love y'all. This is the greatest show on YouTube. Hands down.
Thank you.
Roll Tide.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Jay. Anything else for us, man? Jay is off the air. Jay has called us for the first time, I believe. I don't think we've heard from Jay before, but the best thing he had to say was that this is the best show on YouTube and that the Tide's going to smash everyone. I can't argue with that. I think that they do have question marks at wide receiver. They do bring in Jermaine Burton, and of course, the talent's there. But the play calling, he pointed out the play calling. I'd have to go back and watch the Texas A&M game again. I haven't seen it since last October. I did watch the final 3 or 4 minutes the other day on YouTube. But anyway, the guys that replaced Mechie and Jamison Williams in the championship game, Ja'Cory Brooks in particular, and was it Ajay Hall? Yeah, it was Ajay Hall and Corey Brooks that dropped passes in the last 5 minutes of that game. Go to the interception return, the pick six that Georgia wrapped the game up on. Go back a play. I think it was the previous play. Just think about Bryce Young. He dropped it in the breadbasket for like a 45-yard gain. Dropped. Or Bama's in the red zone and they are knocking on the door to win the game. They got let down a wide receiver by the backups. And the offensive line was not Alabama standard. The rushing attack that we saw out of Alabama last year had to be the worst in the Nick Saban era. They couldn't run against LSU. They couldn't run against Auburn. So I do think Alabama's the best team in the nation, but they've got a few things to shore up. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
This is Steve.
Hey, Steve. What's going on?
How you doing tonight? I was just sitting there listening to your callers. George, I think it was, talking about he don't like to watch or believe that the regular network news is biased or whatever. I'm not sure what his problem was exactly, but I think you need to watch the regular news if you want to get the real truth. You can find pretty much anything out on the web, and trying to get the news is not particularly well-found, I don't think. I heard you also talking about Everson Walls and Too Tall Jones, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I was asked about whether I watch or like HBCU teams, and I was just mentioning that I don't have time to watch those games. It's not that I don't like or support what they're doing. It's just that I don't have time. But I was just going back to years and years gone by in terms of just plucking a few names of who played at those schools.
Yeah, I got that. But I just, of course, I grew up a really diehard South Cowboy fan until they fired Landry back in '87.
Oh, I'm with you.
And of course, those are two of the better names in defensive football from that era of Cowboys.
Sure. Well, I'll let you know. I know more about the Dallas Cowboys than I do just about any other college football team. My son's name is Landry.
Wow.
So that tells you something there. I loved the Cowboys too. Impressive. And it sounds like much like you, sir, that once they fired Tom Landry, I was done. I was out. That was it. But I was a huge Cowboys fan.
It was adding insult. I'm sorry.
I was just saying I was a huge Cowboys fan from the time that I started watching the NFL up until 1989.
It was somewhere in that ballpark. I thought it was '87, but it could have been '89. In any case, the Cowboys were formed 1960, the same year I was born. And anyways, I've always followed the team until that period when they fired Landry. But what I really called tonight was to send a message to all the fans from my school up north. Let them know they got a whoop down coming when they get to Columbus this year. So they better, if they think they're going to let last year's debacle in the terrible weather be any indication of the state of that rivalry, we're going to set them back to reality when they get to Columbus this year in November. So just a little bit of trash talk, I guess you call it. Your last caller was big on Alabama. Well, I feel like Ohio State's offense is easily the most explosive that there is in the country this year. And C.J. Stroud is the best quarterback in the country by far, better than Bryce Young by far. I don't think anybody matches it.
Okay, well, I can't argue with that. I would only say that Ohio State, about the only thing I can question on the offense is that they do have some depth issues on the offensive line. The starting five is pretty exceptional, but the backups, they're going to have to figure that out. And that, of course, the wide receiver depth is phenomenal, and the players should be phenomenal, but they do lose 2 first-round wide receivers, so the other guys are going to have to step up. But I think that they will.
Yeah, I mean, I think they showed in the Rose Bowl last year what the 2 backup or 3 backup wide receivers can do. I mean, how many touchdowns did their backups have all season long? And in that one particular game, I believe one of the backups had 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, in the Rose Bowl.
Well, that was Jackson Smith-Njigba. You wouldn't call him a
but he was not a backup. He was, of course, one of the regular starters all year long.
Sure.
But I'm talking about what was his name, Martin? He was one of the guys that
they've got Harrison. They also have Julian Fleming, but Harrison had a big day in the Rose Bowl. Sure.
Yeah, he had 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns he did have.
He had 3 touchdowns too? Didn't Smith-Njigba have 3? Stroud threw 6, right?
So.
I guess he threw 3 to each of them.
I do know that Harrison, I think his name, Martin Harrison, I think he did. He definitely had 3, and Njigba had 3 as well. So yeah, yes sir.
Okay. All right.
But I expect no letdown from the offense whatsoever. Like I said, I mean, C.J. Stroud is just a class by himself. He's easily the best college quarterback I've ever seen. Consistent. Granted, he was off to a sort of slow start the first couple games, but once he got his footing and his wherewithal about him, he was just a dynamite. I mean, he put passes in places you didn't think it could be. I didn't. I mean, I'm so astounded by his play. He came out of basically California out of nowhere, as far as I'm concerned, and was, to me, the best player in the country last year, by far. But I do expect us to put a big whoop down on Michigan this year. They have that coming. And not that I have any grievance with Notre Dame, but, we can't open the season without, putting a little diminishing theirs a bit. So Notre Dame has that to look forward to as well. So. Anyway, I'm just talking a little bit fast. Is that okay?
That's quite all right. I appreciate you're excited. Anything else on the Buckeyes or anything else?
No, I don't want to take up too much time. I do appreciate you having me so much. And subscribe to Mark's channel, like it. As many people as we can, knowing that what a great show he has here. And I thank you, Mark.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the call. Call back anytime.
Yes, sir. Have a great night.
All right. Let's cover some of the ground in the chat here for just a second before we get to the next call. Yes, Emeka Ibuka, of course, is a tremendous player as well. And thought I saw a few interesting tidbits in here somewhere. So again, quickly, before we take this next call, I wanted to run down. These were my thoughts, and I'm going to produce videos for most of these. So listen up, everyone. We're going to take your suggestions for, is this the year? Is this the year? This is the series. So we've produced 3 videos. We posted them, so check it out. Is this the year Iowa produces a top 50 offense? Is this the year Michigan finally wins in Columbus? It's been since 2000. And then the other one was, is this the year that finally Notre Dame wins a major bowl game? That's been since 1994. So my other idea is this the year South Carolina upsets Clemson? That's been since 2013. Is this the year Chip Kelly coaches a meaningful game? That's been a long time. You have to go back to Oregon 2013 since Chip Kelly coached in a meaningful game. Is this the year that these teams win conference titles? Texas A&M, it's been since 1998. Miami, it's been since 2003. Texas, 2009. Nebraska, 1999. Is this the year that Nebraska finally gets back to a bowl game? That's been since 2016. Is this the year that Oregon wins the national championship? I know that sounds ridiculous, but I was picking out basically the best football program that has claimed no national championships. Oregon. Is this the year Kansas does not finish in last place in the Big 12? They had a nice stretch run at the end under Lance Leopold. Is this the year that the Big Ten West team wins the Big Ten championship game? Is this the year that the SEC misses the playoffs? It's possible. Can certainly devise scenarios in which the SEC would miss the playoffs. Is this the year that the Pac-12 makes the playoff? All right, let's take our next call here at the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark, it's John DeLon.
Hey, John. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I wasn't going to call in, but you said something that kind of, set me off a little bit. So I'm calling to,
Okay.
I'm calling to, maybe you're not quite looking at this from the correct perspective, I think. And it's the letting 7 and 5 Pitt stuff into the playoff stuff.
Well, we're not letting them in. They have to win to get in. So we're not letting them in. And first of all, you wouldn't be 7 and 5. You'd be 8 and 5. And again, this hasn't happened, but you've got the floor. Go to it.
Well, I mean, I want you to pretend for 1 second that you're not Mark Rogers, YouTube college football spin guy.
Okay.
Who's concerned about, and this is something else you do every now and then that kind of irritates me when you use the F word, fair. Life isn't fair. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but some teams don't deserve chances. Period. End of discussion. A 7 and 5 conference or an 8 and 4 conference champ doesn't deserve a spot in the playoffs. But here's my thing. Pretend like you're not Mark Rogers, Mark Rogers, and pretend like you're head of ESPN ad department.
Okay.
And you have to sell commercial time.
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
And you have to sell commercial time in the playoffs to sponsors. Now, leaving open the possibility for an 8-win or a 9-win conference champ, what do you think that's going to do to the potential asking price of your commercial time?
Well, first of all, I'm wondering what our perspective is when we're caring what the advertising rates are for ESPN or whatever company. Yeah. We're not going to bring down the playoff isn't going to implode because there's one 9 and 4 team in a playoff. And understand, we're talking about an expanded playoff. We're not talking about the current playoff. We're talking about having to go to 8 or 12 teams to get that team in. And let's also understand that would have never happened in the last 18 years. What we're talking about would have never happened.
I mean, but you have to consider it from the perspective of the advertisers, because ultimately that's who's going to be making the decisions. Everybody hates the committee. Do you know why we have the committee? Because of the sponsors. I guarantee you, ESPN and the sponsors are the reasons we have the committee. And it functions the way it does to keep little guys out who don't belong, because it will kill commercial time.
They didn't do that last year. They let the little guy in.
Well, how do you know that the ad revenue was the same?
I don't know that the ad revenue was the same, but I know that having Cincinnati in the college football playoff is not good for business.
Yeah, it's not. It's terrible, and I just don't see how you can think leaving that door open is even a possibility. Like I think if you're not at least a 10-3 conference runner up, you're not sniffing the playoffs.
So
like, no chance.
So
whatsoever.
you just made the distinction between a 3-loss team and a 4-loss team. Like that's law or something. Like you're going to allow it a 10-3 team. That's okay. 10-3, but not 9-4 that won a conference championship. That's horrible. But the 10-3 is okay. Why draw the line there?
Well, okay. First of all, what was the record of the conference champ?
I said 9.
I thought we originally said it
9-4.
was. I thought we originally said it was 8-4 or 8-5.
Well, they have to win a conference championship game to get there. So if they're 8-4 and they win a conference championship game, they're 9-4.
Okay, so you're saying okay. All right, but I mean, it's the ACC. Are you really going to sit there and tell me that you think that there's not a 10-3 conference runner-up in the Pac-12 or the SEC, I mean, in the Big Ten or the SEC that isn't more deserving?
Oh, I think we could make all sorts of arguments about who's deserving and who's not deserving. I can already give you, if you're just talking about selecting the best teams, I would have kicked out a number of teams that have already been in the playoff. Did Washington really earn, based on the quality of their schedule, a 2016 college football playoff appearance? No. They played a horrible schedule.
Really remember that year.
They played like the 100th schedule in the country. Cincinnati just played like the 95th schedule in the country. So they didn't earn it.
Yeah. I remember Washington's non-conference schedule that year.
They beat Rutgers. That was their big
trash.
Win.
Yeah, like Rutgers was their best school. I remember it was some doormat, some P5 doormat was their best win. Yeah, I mean that's all I really got. I was just wanted to run that by you just to make you like I don't know. I just think that you have to at least consider such things as ad revenue when you're making.
Well, I don't care about the ad revenue. What I'm stating is that, like, the real MVP, he called up, and other people have as well, that want to abolish divisions, and I'm not against it. Understand, it's just not something that moves the needle with me. There are a lot of other things I'm very passionate about and state, okay, I think this is not fair. I think this can be done better. There are a lot of things. We can start with scheduling's horrific, and all sorts of the playoffs horrific. It's not a playoff, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things. But when it comes to the divisions, if the divisions get trashed tomorrow and everybody goes to a 1 through 10, 14, or 16 lineup in their conference to say, we're just going to have one conference with no divisions, you're not going to hear anything about me. I'm going to talk about it, but I understand the logic behind it. The logic is exactly that. It's logical, but I also don't have an issue with the divisions, because we are going to run into issues with. So we already have an issue because not all the teams in these conferences play each other. So we're always going to have situations in which there are inequalities or unfair situations. For example, is this fair? If the winner of the Big 12, if the Big 12 number 1 seed goes 9-0 in the conference, and there's a log jam for second place at 6-3, that 6-3 team gets to play for the conference championship against the 9-0 team. And if they win the game, who proved to be better? They even played during the regular season, and the 9-0 team beat the 6-3 team. But if the 6-3 team wins that conference championship game, there you go. That's with no divisions.
Oh, come on. That would be funny if that really happened, though.
Why couldn't that happen? Oh, so suddenly it goes from you think this is horrible that we could possibly have a 9-4 team in the playoff, and suddenly I just played out a scenario for you, and you said it would be funny.
Well, I don't think it would be funny because it would be happening to the Big 12. If you had used another conference,
I'm just saying that I'm bringing up real. Even if we abolish these divisions, that can happen.
Yeah, true. So one question for you before I go, unless it leads to another question. Do you think Brian Harson coaches the Iron Bowl next year?
I kind of hope so, but does he coach the Iron Bowl? I'm going to give him like a 60-40 chance positive. Not that he lasts the season, but I'll get him through the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
It was just so ugly this offseason that anytime that happens between a coach where the school actually investigates whether they're going to keep him or not and runs through all these investigations and interviews all these people, man, that he is fighting for his life. Yeah, he's going to have an outstanding season to stay, you would think.
Oh yeah, that whole process of him being investigated was really nasty. I remember watching Feinbaum most days, and I'm pretty hard to shock, and I was just sitting there like jaw dropped and bug eyed through about half of those interviews, and I just could not believe it.
And you bring up a valid scenario. Of course, we saw Dan Mullen get fired before their last game this past season, I think, with 2 games left.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to fire him somewhere around the 9th or 10th game, and they're going to make a strong move for Lane Kiffin. Really strong move for Lane Kiffin.
That's an interesting thought. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Who do you think they should go for?
Who should Auburn go after? Well, Lane Kiffin has proven himself in the SEC here for a few years. Yeah, that's a great question. Who should they go after? Who else is tearing it up right now? Trying to think in the group of 5.
It's got to be either him, Dorn, or
that's another good candidate.
The Minnesota guy. I can never remember his name. The row the boat guy. Yeah, PJ Fleck. I think it's going to be one of those 3 ultimately, but I think Lane's going to be the number 1 candidate. Anyway, that's all I got for you, man.
Well, I think that's a really good list. So thanks for the call, and I appreciate that. And you did some thinking on that Auburn potential, because I think that's a pretty viable list. But thanks for the call.
Yeah. Thanks.
Have a good night. It was a smart list on that Auburn job. I got to tell you, I haven't given it any thought. Guess that's what I should be doing, huh? All right. Michael says, check the views on major upsets for college football. Now think about Cincinnati beating Alabama. What that draw would be having social media platforms trending off the charts. Sure. And that's got to be taken more and more into consideration in addition to just the simple TV rating, because now it goes beyond a TV rating and there's an actual viewer rating that takes into account digital hits. And again, that's part of it too, is causing interest, stirring up interest for those non-football people or non-hardcore people that are going to watch just at any cost, that would be lured into just having the knowledge that Cincinnati shouldn't be playing with Alabama. And wow, it's 24-21 with 5 minutes left to get them interested. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Brian from Florida.
Hey, Brian.
And I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest issue is for this coming season for Mario at Miami?
The biggest issue?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that the biggest issue is typically for a first-year head coach is so we're going to state the obvious is just getting everyone on board in regards to, the relationships that have to be built, and it's a whole new offense, it's a new defense, it's new terminology, it's all that sort of thing. I do think that there's a culture there that's that he's changing, but it's been there that that the more tenured players tend to get favor over the guys that have earned it in practice. So he's going to have to fight that a little bit. I don't think that that's going to be a major concern. None of those guys have won a big game. I thought that their performances against Pitt and North Carolina State were impressive, that they beat the two best teams on their schedule in conference. So that kind of prepared them. True. But, this is going to be the first time that they're going to be under the bright lights. And, they were against Alabama, of course, last year. But I mean, under the bright lights, that let's see if they can pull through against Texas A&M, against Clemson. We'll see how good North Carolina is, if that, in fact, is going to be their most important conference game of the year.
Yeah. My other question is, do you like the old 1 versus 2 or just college football playoff? So I don't care for the playoff. I miss the old system.
Okay. You like the BCS system?
Yes.
What do you like about the BCS system?
Well, the fact that these college teams have 12 games to prove themselves, I feel the playoff is a waste of time.
Oh, so you're saying that they've had enough games to prove themselves that we should be able to select 1 and 2.
Yes. Yes.
So you do realize that there are a number of years, most years, that the BCS selected 2 teams, and we know that the BCS was partially computers, one third computers, and it was 2/3 a vote anyway. So that vote by the coaches and the writers, that overrode the computers almost all the time anyway.
Right.
So it was nothing more than an extension of the system we had in the polls, but just adding a championship game. My issue with it is that it got the championship game wrong a number of times.
That's true. But it's just the playoff, to me, it's like seeing the same old teams year after year is getting kind of like sad and boring.
Well, you get to see more football, and it affords 2 other teams the opportunity to play for the championship.
Yeah, that's true.
So the BCS, if we would have extended the BCS through 2021, it would have given us something similar to what we've seen anyway. So I think
why call it the college football playoff if they extended it for the BCS format?
Okay, so the major issue I have with the BCS is that there's just not enough spots.
Uh-huh.
Because, as you know, it started in 1998. And so the very first year, you had Tennessee, who went undefeated. Okay. And then you have 6 teams, 6 that were 11-1, that had 1 loss.
Right.
So you're relying on a system to try to determine out of 6 teams who's the best team to play Tennessee in the national championship game. Well, the BCS system actually selected the one team that had the worst loss of all 6 teams to play in the BCS championship game. And then 2 years later, in 2000, you've had a scenario where Oklahoma's undefeated. Okay, they're in. And then you've got all these one-loss teams, Washington, Florida State, and Miami. Well, Washington beat Miami,
Right.
and Miami beat Florida State. So who does the BCS
Yeah.
select to go to the championship game? Florida State.
Because of quality of win.
The team that's the least likely, that has the worst resume, got selected.
Yeah.
And this happened over and over and over and over.
That's true. Oh, that's all I have.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. All right. Let's take our last call of the night. Why don't we do that? Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line? Hello?
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, simple question. There's stuff on the screen, or what's up on the screen.
Is this Dave?
Would you go back to the ESPN for $300 billion and a million pack of alpaca?
Well, the alpaca I could probably do without. I don't know what I would do with them. I'd give them to you.
Yeah, but the $300 million.
The $300 million, that is a pretty sizable figure there. So I love my freedom right now, but $300 million, what are you going to have me doing at ESPN? Do I have to go back to my old job?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I got to do my old job?
Just simple questions. $300 million and a million pack of alpaca.
Yeah, I got to feel good about setting up my kids for the rest of their lives. And man,
Okay.
I'd be subjected to the 50 hours a week and dealing with all the ridiculous headaches that I had to deal with there. And I was up to 5 weeks vacation. So, but for $300 million, yeah, you put that figure kind of out of reach there, Dave. That's pretty serious right there.
Right. Yeah, but Dan, have you been following the Jeff Hurd trial? I mean, that's a joke. And a $300 million and a million pack of alpaca. that was a joke. Okay, man. I'll let you go. Have a good one. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Dave was really on me tonight about answering the ESPN question about going back to ESPN. That's funny. That is funny. So our next show is on Sunday. We go live on the Oklahoma channel. We've got a special edition Oklahoma Sooners live at 2 p.m. Eastern time. How about that? So please join us then. Ted is saying 3 more calls. Well, there's nobody calling me right now. Hawkeye Howard for $300 million. I would slap KF. Well, my goodness, $300 million. I thought he would put it maybe in a range where it'd be like, oh man, that's a tough decision. But $300 million, can I quit after a year? Get my $300 million salary for 1 year and then I'm out. Yeah, I know, Uncle Rico, it's $300 million. If we can get some sponsors here on the main channel and on these team channels, then I don't have to worry about that. I'm not worried about it anyway, but we could just make sure that we settle in doing this for a long, long time. Let's see. I'm looking through these comments to see if there's anything funny or interesting that I've missed. Michael's telling us we've got to be on the lookout for some Notre Dame commits, possibly. It's a big weekend in recruiting all over the place. And, of course, I'm not the recruiting guy, but we got a ton of recruiting information and insight for you. You check out our team channels. Who did we talk to this week? We covered Clemson recruiting, Alabama, LSU, Georgia. We covered the SEC. SEC fans, you should be pleased with us. We covered all those teams this week. Ohio State, of course, Florida State, Miami recruiting, and some other ones I forget right now. Oklahoma, of course. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Andrew from San Diego, and listen to the show quite a bit, Mark. Really appreciate it. I heart SC fan, so of course I follow the SC players when they transfer and whatnot. And I just wanted to get your opinion on if you think West Virginia with JT Daniels or Pitt with Keaton Slovis will have a better season this year. Thanks again. Love the show.
Interesting question there. All right, so we've got a Pitt team that was obviously better than West Virginia last year. And Pitt has had a run of producing more sacks than anybody in college football. They're in the top 3 or 4 every year under Pat Narduzzi. So we would expect Pitt to have a healthy pass rush. Their defense wasn't great last year. They lose Kenny Pickett. Keaton Slovis is the starter, although he's going to still have to battle for the job with Nick Patty there, who was the backup to Kenny Pickett. They lose Jordan Addison. So you got West Virginia, which I certainly believe had one of the 2 or 3 worst quarterback rooms in the Big 12 until they signed JT Daniels. I almost gave him Jaden Daniels, but they're going to take JT Daniels. So I'm hearing from my West Virginia. I try to close my ears because I don't want to get swayed by too many of these. You know, I have all these great shows with all these great contributors, but of course they are heavy on their teams. And our West Virginia show, our guy Golden Blue Dude and Travis Kenobi and Coos Walker, they love their West Virginia Mountaineers, and I try not to get swayed too much. I'd, of course, have to look at the schedule. They play each other, but they play at Pitt. West Virginia's got another Power 5 game against Virginia Tech. I believe Pitt just has the one Power 5 game. That's a close call. That's a close call. I'm going to say, do I get to look at schedules? Got to look at schedules here. I know West Virginia's schedule. They play everyone in the Big 12. And they've got Virginia Tech and Pitt. Let me look at Pitt's schedule. See if I'm missing anyone. They've got the pretty easy Coastal Division. And, of course, I'm getting the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. There we go. And the Steelers, yes, will have a tough schedule. All right. Oh, yeah, Tennessee. That's right. But they do have Tennessee at home. I forgot about that home and home with Tennessee. Tennessee's good. Look out for Tennessee. Still need to fix the defense. It's going to take a couple of years on defense. But, man, I got to think, man, if Pitt comes out and loses to West Virginia, I think they will lose to Tennessee. Thank you, Jason. Yes. I was forgetting about that home and home. Pitt won in Knoxville 41-34, I believe. Shoot, the way Pitt's going, they lost to Western Michigan. Pigskin Pete. Folks, get on over to Pigskin Pete's channel. Check out what he's got going. It's always interesting. You know, football, loves his Clemson Tigers. ACC talk, I think he's got like an ACC grounded show. And then, of course, just all sorts of good stuff beyond that, especially in the off season. So it's a good time. It's a good discussion. Pigskin Pete, thank you so much for being here. You know, you're welcome anytime, my man. So at Western Michigan, Pitt lost that game last year. And then my daughter's alma mater, the Mighty Rams of Rhode Island, Okay. Let me just check to see who they play in the other division. Of course, they always play Syracuse, and they've got Louisville. I'm going to lean toward West Virginia having a better season than Pitt. I just think this Pitt schedule starts rugged. West Virginia, Tennessee, even going to Western Michigan. Who knows? I think Miami and North Carolina are going to be better this year, so I'm going to lean West Virginia, but don't be surprised if they both don't go 7-5. All right. Next up here at the Voice of College Football, who's on the line?
What's up, Mark? It's DeAndre. How you doing?
DeAndre, I'm doing well. Getting asked about Pitt and West Virginia here.
Oh, okay.
What's on your mind?
I took the eight and minus 8. I took the 8 and 8 points on that early. I think one of your callers before has said that they thought it was going to be that was kind of a high for the game for Pitt to be. I think it was Pitt being that highly. That many points
That's
over
a
West
lot.
Virginia. So yeah. But you know what I like to talk about, Mark? So I saw a lot of people saying about DJ. I sent you some numbers compared DJ and Kenny Pickett.
I saw him.
And my point was that Kenny Pickett first, let's say 5 years, wasn't that good. I guess he played 5 years in college. And then last year he had 42 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And so my point of bringing that up was, I don't know what Kenny Pickett was when he came out of high school, but the approval that a player could make over a certain time period, and if DJ showed us flashes, why couldn't he get back to what he used to be at the offensive line and receivers improve? And that was my point of sending that to you. And I hate that people are piling on DJ because, like I said, yes, Clemson could have lost a whole bunch more games, but it could also win them a lot more games too. So I just people like, oh, why is Clemson getting so much respect? They're pretty daggone good.
So let's set this up for everybody that's listening, DeAndre. Just want to let everyone know what we're talking about here. So DeAndre sent me a graphic that showed, and it wasn't anything I don't already know, but it was interesting just to look at it and see, okay, Kenny Pickett went to the Heisman Trophy ceremony last year, 42 touchdown passes, was the only first-round quarterback that came out of college football this past year. 42 touchdowns, had a remarkable year. But his 3 previous seasons, he's been the starter since late in 2017, had 3 full seasons in 18, 19, and 20, and they all look about the same. They all look about 12 or 13 touchdown passes and 7, 8, 9 interceptions. Not great seasons. And then all of a sudden, 42 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, blows it up. Okay, DJ, a much higher recruit. So Kenny Pickett was a top 750 recruit. He was not very high, 33rd rated pro-style quarterback. Well, DJ looked amazing in those 2 games against Notre Dame and BC, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Everybody felt comfortable that he's going to be the next one in line. Then he implodes last year, 9 touchdowns, 10 picks. Well, if Kenny Pickett, after all that time, could show us to be a pretty decent but marginal quarterback, and then all of a sudden he takes off, and DJ is supposed to have more talent, then what's to say that he's not going to explode this year?
Right. Hey, you want to take another good example? Joe Burrow wasn't highly recruited. I'm not saying Kenny, Joe Burrow, I know Brady coming in helped them out a lot, but I think his first year, I think he had 28 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
No.
LSU. I'm not really.
He didn't have anything close to that. Let me look him up. He didn't have 20 touchdown passes with LSU the year before. I think he had 16.
Oh, okay.
I'm almost positive he had 16 and 5 picks the year before he threw 60 touchdowns. Yeah, I'm looking at it right there. 16 touchdown passes. Then he went to 60.
See, that's what I'm saying. You know, you know, now look at Joe Burrow. He went to the NFL to the Super Bowl. So I mean, in the second year, and he looked good the first year. So, like I said, it's just a matter of timing and stuff like that. You just never know what people are going to do.
Well, yeah, you bring up a good
when they
point.
get the opportunity.
I got to say that after watching DJ play those 2 games the year before, I pretty much just assumed, I didn't even give it much thought. Like, he's going to be able to, not that he's going to be Trevor Lawrence, but I thought he'd be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the country. I just assumed he's good. They're good. And then I was surprised with the way he struggled. But I'm also on the flip side have maybe been a little not too hard on him. I haven't been too hard on him, but I've not given him much of an opportunity to say, like you just did, hey, look at all these other examples of quarterbacks who broke out and became better players just with more development and reps and maybe better play calling.
Yeah, and you know, we got to look at like this, and we also got to look at it too. That offensive line, let's be more specific. The center and the 2 guards play better, and you can run the ball. Teams are going to creep up and try to stop the run, and he's going to have single outside coverage. And I would like to bring up another player. What's the guy that Bennett? Look at him. I mean, I would say DJ has more talent than him, and DJ is going to have a great defense and good running back, just like he did. Now, he might be there, but I had the offensive line that he had in front of him. So who says that he can't do what he did? I just think that we just say, oh, he's going to suck. And look at what he did last year. He has an opportunity to shine. I mean, I don't think he's like Tate Martell, who just never got on the field because, you know, the coaches couldn't trust him. So I just, you know, I think people just need to relax and look at the growth of Clemson football. Why are you up here? You know, just give him an opportunity.
The only thing I'll say about Burrow is when I watched him the year before his monster season, you know, they won the Peach Bowl that year. He threw for 400 yards against UCF. Like, you know, I watched him quite a bit that year. I remember he had a big win against Auburn on the road, and they had a good season. He played in that 74-72, like a zillion overtime game against Texas A&M. Like, I watched him play a lot of football, and I know he only threw 16 touchdowns, but I was pretty much sold on him, not being the number 1 pick in the draft. I'm not going to say that, but, you know, I thought he was playing well.
Yeah. Right. So, but I was just saying that because I think that Clemson defense next year is going to be, you got better linebackers who are going to be faster. You got a deep defensive line, secondary and safeties who know they're going to be pretty good. Quarterback might be kind of shaky, but you know you got 3 good running backs. You got a pretty good tight end, and you got some. If the receivers stay healthy, now you just got to worry about DJ, decision making, and the 3 offensive linemen in the middle, and see how it goes from there. Because I mean, last year we heard them say they have issues with snapping the ball, so we knew that we were going to be in for a long season, and then you come out and start a freshman. First game against probably the best defensive line, and they got murderized. And they still only lost by 7 points. It took a big 6 for Georgia to beat them. And don't get me wrong, Georgia was a more talented team last year, but it still held that Georgia defense 3 points. I mean, and all these guys are coming back next year. I'm sorry, they held Georgia's offense 3 points. So, you know, I just, you know, that's what I think. But I'll let somebody else talk, Mark, man. You have a great night. Tell Pete I saw him Monday. Tell him I said what's up. But you have a good night, Mark.
Thanks, DeAndre. I appreciate you stopping by.
All right, Mark.
Always appreciate hearing from DeAndre. Smart college football fan, always brings up some good points. And again, Kenny Pickett, Joe Burrow, There are other examples out there that were pretty pedestrian at quarterbacks before the breakout season. DJ Uiagalelei, maybe that happens to him. Hawkeye Howard, one more like to get to 100. Please make it happen for us. We've probably had, we got 100 people on here. We were up to, I don't know what it was, 130. So we probably had, shoot, I've been at this for 2.5 hours. We probably had 800 people on here already, and we got 100 likes. We always run about 10%. I would think we could do better than that. Somebody had asked Bilal, where's Bilal? Had asked whether I was going to post a video on opening weekend. Well, that sounds like a good video to post. I think people would be interested in us tearing apart opening weekend. So I jotted down here what also came to mind were over-unders and opening weekend, because it's a guessing game. I wish I could be one of these YouTubers that's got like 1 million subs and whatever crap I throw out there, everybody watches and it's all good. But you know, I gotta be strategic with what I put out there. I put some clunkers out there that you guys don't like or nobody finds or watches or whatever, and then you got to realize that if I throw out a video and nobody watches the video, like I just threw out a video about Notre Dame that I thought it was a good idea. Let's see if Notre Dame's going to go to a major bowl game and win a major bowl game for the first time since 1994. Nobody watched the video. And so that's not just a waste of my time. It's not so much that, it's that YouTube then sees that a video didn't do well. And maybe if it's 2 or 3 consecutive videos did not do well, then they beat you down. They punish you. They suppress your channel because they figure, well, we're not going to post this guy's videos. We're not going to send them out into traffic because nobody's watching them. So that's why I got to be careful what I post. Otherwise, you guys would see me doing all sorts of videos. I'd be up here talking about Minnesota's offensive line. All right. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, Mark. Andrew, San Diego again. Quick question. Which offense do you think will be more potent this year? Jeff Lebby at Oklahoma or Lincoln Riley at SC? Yes, it's that can of worms again. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Well, our guy there is quick with his phone calls. Otherwise, I was going to sneak it in that we go with the 1 phone call per show, but he was rather economical with his phone call. So we'll keep that in mind. He didn't keep me on the line for 20 minutes. It was boom, boom. Well, the better offense between Oklahoma and USC is the answer is USC. You're talking about a pro football focused top 5 offensive line. Now it's thin. And of course, when people are asked about offense, they don't typically go to offensive line first. But I'm going to, because USC has a strong offensive line in terms of starters. Maybe a bit thin, but strong at starting offensive line. I think their quarterback isn't necessarily better for sure, Caleb Williams versus Dylan Gabriel, but higher ceiling Caleb Williams. Running backs, I'm going to go Oklahoma with the 2 stud backs. The one already played in the spring. Shoot, Javonte Williams and I'm probably screwing up their names. I can't think of their Gavin Sawchuk and the other one. So you got those 2 that are pressing Eric Gray and not Kennedy Brooks. He's gone, but the other one that came back, Marcus Major. So you got the 2 veteran backs at Oklahoma and the 2 studs coming in, the 2 near 5 stars. I think they'll be better there, potentially higher ceiling at running back. Oklahoma over USC, even though they picked up Travis Dye. The wide receiver position, I'm going USC big there with Jordan Addison, of course, Mario Williams and company. They get in Brendan Rice from Colorado, who is a capable threat. And again, the offensive line, where usually you would side with Oklahoma because of their recent success along the offensive line, but not as good last year and questionable as to whether they'll be elite at offensive line this year. So your offense, Oklahoma, USC, go Trojans. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Andrew from San Diego, one of my favorite places. Haven't been there for a long, long time, though. Not since I had I had a relationship out there in California. So that's when I used to head on out there. But I have not been back to California since 2011. 13. I think it was 2013. When was the Boston tragedy during the marathon, the Boston Marathon tragedy? That was sometime in 2013. That was the last time I took a California vacation. Well, I got to keep that in mind, that the blue shirt highlights my beautiful blue eyes. Well, thank you for that. Cow one. Not nearly as beautiful as my son. My son's blue eyes just completely annihilate mine. Mine are kind of like take on the atmosphere. I've got, hazel eyes. Hazel, slightly blue, nothing outstanding. But my son's blue eyes, my goodness, he gets rave reviews wherever he goes. 2013. Thank you, Mozart. Yes, had a nice vacation with the kids and significant other in California in 2013. That would have been the last time I was out there. Interesting. Last time in Vegas, I was talking to somebody just recently in the last couple of days who's going to Vegas for a big party weekend. Last time I was out there was 2017. I'd never been to Vegas until 2009 or 10. 9, and then went to Vegas tons of times between 2009 and 17. Again, relationship, going out to Vegas all the time, but not since then. All right. Anyway, you guys could care less to hear about that kind of stuff. Yes, Andrew. I would love to live there other than, I used to think I definitely wanted to live there, but not under consideration now. First national championship between those two, Miami, USC. Boy, that's a tough one. I think USC is going to have a firmer grip on their conference before Miami would. So I'm going to side USC slightly. Okay. Derek Mays, of course, Mays. Okay. I think we about wrapped it up for the weekend. Not for the weekend, for a Saturday night, because Sunday we will do a show on the Oklahoma channel. And it's going to be simulcasted here. Every so often I do that. So we've got all these team channels. You guys understand that. We got a West Virginia show, 2 Miami shows, Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska. Yes, those are the shows. And you got to go to those team channels for those shows. But every so often I'm like, you know what? Florida State's been kind of dying. So we'll simulcast on the main channel. Remind people, hey, we're here. We're here. Yes, Uncle Rico. Notre Dame is ruining Mark's channel. Some subjects and teams are just, I don't get it. I don't know what to do with it, because like Notre Dame, we did some Notre Dame videos maybe a month ago, and they did great. They got 10,000 views. So thinking Notre Dame people would watch. And then all of a sudden I do a Notre Dame video, nobody watches. So you never know. Rob J, appreciate you being here. Jay Chillin, go to Irish Breakdown. Haters, you're still welcome over there too. Yes, Irish Breakdown's phenomenal with our guy, Brian Driscoll. Does a phenomenal job. Yes, the USC show. I forgot about that one. It's the newest one. So I forget about USC every Tuesday. Our USC show's off to a good start. Tuesday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. All right, everyone. Appreciate you being here. The Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for your support. Keep in mind the Amazon links in the description section of the videos. When you shop on Amazon, please use our video. We'll see you Sunday at 2 Eastern on the Oklahoma channel or right here. See you then.